8 years ago, a Pentagon committee called the Defense Science Board issued a very stern warning. Quote, "The cyber threat is serious," they wrote, "with potential consequences similar in some ways to the nuclear threat of the Cold War." Almost a decade later, it doesn't seem like the government is taking these threats as seriously as they promised they would. And suddenly those threats have multiplied. They appear to have anyway. When hackers shut down the gas supply to the eastern seaboard earlier this year, for example, the White House said it was a private matter. And watch how Joe Biden's top spokeswoman reacted yesterday to a hack of about 250,000 servers operated by Microsoft. Microsoft says that hack came from China. Here's how the White House responded.
In March, we heard from the National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, who came in here and told us that the U.S. in the near future, to use his words, would name who's responsible for the hack on the Microsoft exchange. So can you tell us who that is? Several months have passed and what the holdup might be.
I'm happy to check with our national security team and see if they have an update. As you know, they are quite careful and thorough. I should say thorough is probably the right word in how they review and assess and provide public guidance. But we can see if there's anything more they can report out.
Is the prevailing theory still that it's China, or can you not go any further than he did that?
I don't think I have an update on it from what we've provided in the past.
The White House also is not commenting on news today that hackers with ties to China tried to hack New York's subway system in April of this year. But the interesting thing is that not all hacks get this treatment. See if you can spot the difference when another country is involved. Watch.
President Biden certainly thinks that President Putin and the Russian government has a role to play in stopping and preventing these attacks. Hence, it will be a topic of discussion when they meet in 2 weeks.
What's going on here exactly? Sincere question. Glenn Greenwald has a theory about it. He's an independent journalist. He joins us tonight. Glenn, this seems like a potentially crippling problem, these cyber attacks. We're utterly dependent on the internet. You can shut us down with a keystroke. The responses from official Washington are puzzling. What do you make of them?
It's obviously bizarre in the sense that we're constantly talking about our massive defense budget. We spend 10 times more on defense than the next 12 countries combined. It is run through the Department of Defense. Constantly, this word is invoked to justify these huge bureaucracies and these huge military budgets of we have to defend the country. And yet when you look at the defense budget, very little of it is actually about defense, things like protecting our industries and our food supply and our energy supply from actual hacks, right? That spending money to fortify those systems, that would be defense. There's very little of it that's spent on that. And you see this over and over. You know, when I did the Snowden reporting in 2013, which was about 8 years ago, which is when that report came out, $75 billion was spent on the intelligence budget. Almost all was spent on spying on American citizens, hacking into the systems of other countries. Virtually none was spent on how to do defense, defending our own country. And even during Russiagate, when there was all that hysteria about the Russians hacking our election system, people like Tulsi Gabbard, a Democratic congresswoman, would say, if you're really that worried about it, pass this bill to provide paper ballots to make sure there can't be hacking. And there was no interest in that. It seems like sometimes there's a real interest in hyping this enemy, constantly creating new programs and bureaucracies that take billions of dollars, but simple solutions to actually provide defense don't generate much interest in Washington.
That's such a great point about paper ballots. And people just weren't interested. I vaguely remember this. People were not very interested, actually, in protecting the system with paper ballots, which would do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what was her point. You know, Tulsi Gabbard would always say, all you do is hear about Russian interference in our election, Russian hacking of our election system. There's a really simple solution. I have a 2-paragraph bill that just requires states to generate paper ballot backup so that nobody can ever hack our voting machines because we'll have a paper backup to prove it. And I think she had like 4 sponsors in all of Congress while they were constantly babbling about Russian interference in our elections. And it just shows you that so often these things are pretext to build massive budgets that really have nothing to do with the interest of the American people.
It's totally and exactly right. And your point about our food supply is ominous and true. The country's biggest beef supplier was just taken down with a cyber attack the other day. Glenn Greenwald, I appreciate your coming on tonight. Thank you.
Good to be with you, Tucker. Thanks.